tell me when you want the aircon off. And this is all out of shot, isn't it, Pete?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Yep. As soon as you're ready, Kirk, we'll get started.
Yep.
Fantastic. I think 1986 was it you started, wasn't it? Test wise.
Test wise, yeah. That's the debut, yeah.
A little while ago now.
A few years ago, cranky.
You're still playing, aren't you?
Nah, shut that. Nah. I play beer matches. If I can take my pint of lager on the field, I might play these.
And in the sand as well.
And that's more my game. In the Sand, sponsored by a beer company in Australia.
I have seen that.
In Australia in January.
I've seen it on telly. I've seen it on telly thinking, yeah,
that's not about. It's Gooch, Lammy. So then they had Tomo, Lily. It's good crack.
Like as hard as it was on the pitch as it was.
Oh well, we still want to beat them, and they want to beat us, even though we can't sort of sledge or shadow each other because we can't make it hurt anymore. But we still want to beat them. That's for sure. We still want to beat them. That's for sure.
Brilliant. Okay, let's crack on with this, which is so just the 8 first, and then we'll go from there. Okay, first question then: who most influenced you in your love of cricket?
Quite simply, the guy who wasn't a cricketer, wasn't one of these big superstars or name, and quite simply, it was my granddad. And there's a guy. My history, born in the Caribbean in Barbados. I'm not quite the full Birmingham lad, but I came born in Barbados, and everyone who knows the Caribbean and knows Barbados knows what a cricket loving place it is. And my granddad lived until he was 92, 93 years old, and he never once left the island of Barbados. Yet he's the biggest English cricket supporter that I've ever come across. Because I can remember my first love of cricket stemmed from this guy. I played cricket every day of the year. The only day that it wasn't allowed to play cricket was probably Christmas Day, because it's also quite a religious place, Barbados. But I played cricket any spare moment I can get, on my own, with my mates, in the street, on a piece of ground, anywhere. And I can remember my granddad. He would come home from work, and he would come in. My grandma would take him out a pitcher of ice water or Morby drink, or now and again a rum and coke. And he would sit there, and then his mates would come and join him, and these guys will talk about cricket. They very rarely talk about anything else but cricket. They would get a transistor radio on and tune it in to some long wave, short wave radio station to try and pick it wherever there was a test match on, wherever in the world. And my granddad, his voice was a lone voice, because he would say how the likes of your Cowdreys, your Mays, your Barringtons, your Graveneys, your Boycotts were much better than your Weeks, your Worrells, your Sobers, and all the great West Indian players of the time. And so my granddad was a guy who first of all, the love of the game was natural, because it was all about in Barbados. But he was the one who really talked to me about English cricket, and so hence that's where it stemmed from.
I'm just trying to think there. So taking things on when England toured the Caribbean, he must have just been. Was he sitting over in the English section? Was he?
Well, I'll never. The only time, one of the proudest moments of my cricket career, and you take it with me, obviously the wickets were all grand and that sort of stuff. But one of the proudest moments, and one of the moments when I sit and reflect on my time in the game, the one that really gives me a bit of a pang in the heart, is in 1990 I got selected to represent England in the Caribbean. And we had a fantastic test match in Jamaica, and then we went on to got washed out in Guyana, and Trinidad was drawn. So went to Barbados, 1-0 in a series, and one of the national papers just did an interview with me going back to Barbados to represent England against the West Indies. And they took a photograph a couple of days before the test match. They took me to where my home in the island, and I got a picture. I got my granddad in my England touring jumper. And in those days, the England touring jumpers still had the MCC colours, with the yellow, red, and the blue. and my England cap, and we stood in the corner of a sugarcane field. And I thought it's the only time I've ever seen tears in the guy's eyes, and it's even to this day it's the proudest. If you come to, it's the proudest photograph in my house, is that photograph of me and my granddad with him in my England kit on. So he would have gone to his grave a proud man, having worn an England cap and jumper.
Fantastic. Okay. Just go on to what is your favourite cricket ground and why?
Favorite cricket grounds. I mean, I never really had an out and out favourite, to be honest, because these things are always down to where you bowl well, where you found good. I was a rhythm bowler. I love the easier I can get to the stumps, the more control and the better I bowl. So basically, anywhere that was a flat surface where you weren't running uphill or downhill or side hill. So, for instance, Lords wasn't a particularly favourite ground to bowl on. Don't get me wrong; it's a great place to play cricket, and it's the history of the place is astounding. But I used to have to think really hard to bowl at Lords because of the slope of the ground, and it's really to work on my rhythm. So anywhere where there's a flat approach, so hence. The grounds in Australia, for instance, where they're very flat approaches. So Adelaide, for instance, so I used to love bowling at Adelaide because it's really flat and you can just glide in on the surface there. So basically that was me. As long as I felt comfortable in the surroundings, and the more comfortable you felt, obviously the better you perform.
And of course, where you take wickets is always
where you take wickets. I mean, I love atmosphere. I love places where the crowd got involved in the game. So as Test match grounds go, I think Edgbaston, thankfully, it was my home ground at Warwickshire for the 20 years of my career, and that's the place, Edgbaston, where it's in front of county match where you only have 500, 800 people, or a big one-day game. You can get a great sense of atmosphere at Edgbaston, and you can pick out from the middle of the field. You can pick out faces in the crowd at Edgbaston because you're quite close to the scene. And now even watching the game, I was watching one of the recent Ashes Test match, and you always sit wherever you are on the ground. You always sit above the cricket, and so you always seem to have a good perspective. You always see how well a ball is timed and how quick. How the reactions of the fielders and stuff. So Edgbaston is a special place for me. It was home.
Good. Okay. What do you believe to be your greatest character strength?
I think I think taking the piss out of myself, to be honest, is one of the things, because that's a great thing with. I mean, cricket's a great game. It's a game it's a game of skill, high skill. It's a team game, absolutely. But essentially, it's a very individual game. At its finite points, when I've got the ball in my hand, it's down to me bowling. When the guy at the other hand has got a piece of wood in his hand, it's down to him, to control that little section, small section in time of the game, and then the other guys come and get involved. So essentially, it's between one individual bowler against one individual batsman, then the other team, the team element come into it. So hence it's quite a unique game in as much that you control what you're able to do, and then you can the bowler with the ball, the batsman with the bat, and the fielders. So hence it comes down to individual moments. So then that's when the strength of character comes through. The guy who if you know you got the ball in that hand, you got to bowl that over. That really counts. You're the one who's got to take that wicket. The batsman, either trying to get the runs or defend his wicket to put his team ahead. So it's those little glimpses of stuff, and that's when the character of the people who play cricket really come through. And I suppose my strength was one nerves never really played a big part for me. I got not uptight, but before a game I really went into a shell. I was in a corner, and some of the guys almost thought I was asleep at times, and I probably was, to be honest. but now I really sort of got into a sort of try and think and picture, visualize what you're thinking, what you're doing, who you were bowling against. So that was me, and also I was also able to put bad days away quite quickly. don't care how good you are, you're gonna have a bad day. And the game is such that, in particularly the one day cricket, and now you've got 2020 cricket, where you don't have to bowl badly to go for runs. So hence I was able to, as long as I felt as though I prepared well, I did mainly what I wanted to do with the ball and put it in the right spot for that particular day for that particular batsman. And if he was better than me on that day, well, hey, well done to him. So I was able to put I was able to put the games in perspective, and hence I was able to move on to the next games. Whether I had a good game or a bad game, I moved on really quite quickly.
A lot's been made quite recently about people stepping up to play Test match cricket. A few changes obviously in the England side,
Yeah.
and some players are almost being labelled as big time players. They love that atmosphere. They love the fact everything's on the line. For you, you were quite happy with that. Other people don't. They struggle, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely, and yes. I mean, you got to be able to put things in compartmentalize the different areas, different situations that you get in, the opposition, the conditions, the moment. I mean, here we are. We're going into Ashes battle, 1-1. In the last Test match is a big moment. These guys can make history. So it's where you position yourself in order to be in that right place at the right time and to perform. That's the key. Is you don't want to get obviously it's the big moment, but you don't want to get yourself too tight that you don't quite produce what you really want to produce.
Because obviously people have got to where they are playing a certain way, which is maybe a free flowing natural way, to then suddenly change or to get uptight. It's never going to help.
Absolutely, absolutely, and sometimes you can, and sometimes the guys you can see the guys just try too hard. Yeah, you can see guys really strain into to really get to that level, and it inhibits them performing to the level that should need to require to. But so you got to find the right balance, the right balance of a good not you got to get height, you got to let the adrenaline come through, but at the same time you don't want to let it overpower you and it takes you over the other side where you get a bit agitated and nervous, and then you start wondering, am I going to bowl well, and am I going to bat well, am I good enough? Then if you have too many of those questions coming into your head, then you're not going to perform properly.
Okay, which cricketer do you most admire and why?
Guys, I'll have to go back to the guys who I would have played in my time, and the guys who have probably seen play, and a couple of guys stand out. Well, first and foremost, one of the guys that I really, even now, if I'm talking to youngsters about bowling particularly, in my time, one of the guys who I really admired was Richard Hadley. Sir Richard Hadley, the great bowler. Wasn't the fastest, but was fast enough. But he just never wasted a ball, and he was a great planner. He was very analytical, and he just knew his game. He knew everyone else's game, and he led the New Zealand team. When there were the others around, he had one or two good support, but they weren't nowhere near as good as he was. So he for me, but probably a guy in a bowling sense, the guy who stood out for me was Malcolm Marshall. In my time, I thought he was an exceptional bowler. He can bowl fast. He can bowl swing. He can bowl seam. He can bowl. He was fun, and he loved competition. He loved it when a batsman stepped up to compete against him, and really gave him a challenge. And he found that really got his not heckles, but it got him really fired up and really wanted to show how good he was. He was a great, and sadly died at a young age as well, when he was just about to start all that knowledge that he'd gained. He was about to start imparting that into the young West Indian side, and sadly that was taken away from him and them already. So he was a great, but batting wise, Viv Richards. I mean, he was quite simply, when he wanted to bat, I don't care who you were or what you did. He just simply took it up, and sometimes you were in awe. It was just awesome to have I used to call it a box, a ringside seat. Even bowling the ball against him, you just had this seat next to someone who was so great as he was. I mean, so those are the three guys, and I admire and the likes of your David Gowers, your Bothams, your Gooch, your Shane Warnes, or anyone. I mean, Kevin Peterson, I like to see. Even now today, I like to see competition. I like to see a bowler stepping up to the mark, and a batsman confronting that bowler and getting thrown down the gauntlet and challenge. And it could be, it could be in a county match. It could be a 50, under 15s cricket match. I just like to see that sort of confrontation. Well, not so much confrontation in a playing sense. I like to see the bowler, really getting stuck in, and a batsman, ready to play his shots and take up the challenge to the bowler.
Okay, well, on the batting front, I know you've got a Test 50.
We all get lucky every now and again.
Who was it against?
That was against Australia. It was I only played one Test match against Australia in England, and that was in '89. In the '89 Ashes series, and that was the series when I think Terry Alderman was running riot through our batting attack, and it came to the last Test match at the Oval, and I was brought in for that Test match, and the Aussies again made a good big score, and we were struggling to avoid a follow, and I went in. I don't remember. I got 59, but that game, what I remember most of that game was against a very good pal of mine in cricket, and he's over here now. He's now an Australian selector, Merv Hughes, and Merv. I mean, this guy. I mean, he got a lot of stick, but he took over 200 Test wickets because he wasn't just a big, ugly sod who liked to throw it down and spit and sweat and swear and kick at people. He could actually bowl. But I'd known him for a long while. I first went to play club cricket in Melbourne in Australia back in the early '80s. So we were young boys kicking around Melbourne together before we made anything in the game. And so he was giving it large, and I remember Alan Border trying to get him riled because he kept bouncing me. Whenever he bounced me, cause I knew his pattern of running in the bowler's bouncer, so I knew when his bouncer was coming. So I would be ducking before he even bowled the ball because I knew it was going to be a bouncer, and I would duck. And when I came, I blew him a kiss, and he didn't like that very much. He didn't like that. As I remember, Border really gave him a mouthful. So that was good. That was good fun. So yeah, it was good to get a.
Well, on the batting side, which cricketer from any era would you most like to bat with, and why?
Well, I was very fortunate in '94. Another batting great. After he got the 375 to beat Gary Sober's record. Brian Lara came to Warwickshire to play for Warwickshire, and I mean it was to see someone that good, that close up over a period of months. Was a thrill. I mean, and I didn't used to watch. I mean, when we were playing county cricket, I would watch a bit of our guys batting. But at that stage, I had young kids. My kids were little, so when we were batting, I used to go sleep in the physio's couch. but when that summer when he came, when he was batting, you just simply had to, because he played the brand of cricket like none, because he hardly played a defensive shot, and it was just phenomenal the way he played. So I had the pleasure of batting with him a couple of times from the non-strikers end. Yeah, and I just stood on my bat really and watched him bat, because I was never going to compete with that or get anywhere near the level he was performing at. But that was wonderful to see someone that good that close, and actually I enjoyed trying to bowl into him in the nets as well, and really trying to work out how and it's the coordination between bat and feet was phenomenal, and because he always worked from a premises that every ball was meant to hit. So he worked from a premise that I'll try every ball that was ball I was going to hit, and then if it was a good ball I would block it. So it was you got to be good.
Not many of those.
You got to be good to start with that sort of thinking.
Okay. Well, on the bowling front then, which cricketer from any era would you most like to have bowled with, and why?
I would have loved to have bowled with Dennis Lilly. I would have loved to have bowled with him, and he was just obviously just slightly ahead of my time, but but the great, fierce competitor. But it's just the style of the guy. But the style of the guy he gave. Apparently, he used to go He would go warm up. Like, so if the play started at 11 o'clock, he would get fully kitted up and go 11:15. He would go into the nets and bowl. Work up to. So when he came onto the field, first ball was full on. It wasn't a loosener. It was bang on, and he was just obviously a fierce competitor, and he had a great style, great action, and yeah, he did a few interesting things on the field as well. But I would have loved to have been at the other end with him.
Okay, how did it feel to score your first, to take your first 5-wicket haul? Obviously 2 in tests, but first ever 5-wicket haul.
Yeah, that was luck. Well, in as much that it was luck, in as much that I was in the team. That was 86 Ashes Test match at MCG. That Boxing Day morning, Graham Dilley got injured while we were doing the warm ups, and I was this was the 4th Test match we 1-0 up with that 4th and the 5th to go, and I was doing my normal pre-match morning's routine as 12th man, mixing the guys the isotonic sports drinks. Apart from Beefy, he never had that sort of stuff in his bottle, but we were mixing the drinks, and I was doing that. Gatton came back down to the dressing room at MCG, down in the basement MCG, to get his blazers to go toss. He said, "It's Tony, forget about mixing drinks, you're playing." Oh, thanks, Skip. So I didn't have time to get nervous or whatever, or think too much about it. But I'd been having a good tour. I think I was the lead, and thankfully that's and those tours back then, you played proper touring matches in between the test matches. You played a test match, and then in between the test matches, when people like Botham and Gower and those boys went off to a wine tour, then I would get a game in. So which was great fun, and I was having a good. I was bowling well and in good form. So I and more importantly as well, and we all hear about the MCG and what a place it is, and it is a cauldron. I mean, the Boxing Day, the Aussies, they're still probably slightly hungover from the Christmas celebrations, and so it's the English team, it's the Pommy boys in town, so it's a big day, and I'd experienced it. I'd experienced that build up, because in the previous Ashes tour there in 82-83, I was playing club cricket in Melbourne, and whenever England came to Melbourne, I was on standby for that test tour. So whenever England came to town, I had to go and train with the England boys, and so I was there. I had that first hand. I had a bit of inkling of the tension and the atmosphere that goes through a dressing room in such an important game. So hence, I just put my shoes on and went out. It was a good day to bowl as well. The ball in the Melbourne, typical Melbourne weather. It was rain on Christmas evening or something like that. So a lot of moisture in the surface, and myself and Beefy went out and took. I got 5 in. I think he got 5 as well. I think my 5 are better than his. Mine was all bowl, all caught behind. His was caught mid wicket and deep square leg and mid off and whatever. I'm sure he took a 5 as well. That's for sure.
Fantastic stuff. I was going to say, you're saying about coming into the team there. Throughout your sort of career, it's sort of been a bit stop-start, hasn't it? Not sort of a continuous batch of. Is that just picking teams, or do you think England were going through a bit of a transition there with not knowing who to play and who was the right horses for courses?
I mean, there was certainly some fun and games with the England. I would love to be able to fly on the wall in some of those selection meetings, because there were at a time when I think it was one of the series here when we picked about 30 odd, was it 35, 36 players we pick against the West Indies. So there was constant chopping and changing. I would love to be a player in the present regime where central contracts, all the continuity, and you almost got to feel yourself out the team, which I think sometimes can take it too far the other way. But yeah, certainly. I mean, I played 17 Test match spread over a 5-6 year period, and so I would have loved to have been a more regular game, particularly in England. I only played three Test matches in England out of that. Most of all the others were in Australia and the Caribbean, which is not bad places to play, I suppose. But I'd love to have played more here. Not a bad place for 12 man either. Yes.
Okay. Couple more of these. What does the spirit of the game mean to you?
Cricket, the history and traditions of the game are well versed and have to be respected. It's that thing. It's not cricket. I mean, that says it all really. It's about fairness and justice. But we are playing. We have to remember we are playing in a very competitive environment where I want to beat the other guy. He wants to beat me. There's a lot of emotion, a lot of tension. And in there as well. So now and again, yes, perhaps things do get taken a little bit too far, but we do need to take into consideration what's at stake and how people strive to get to that position to perform. So there's a lot of riding on things, but deep down we also got to be. Sometimes it'd be good to take a deep breath and think. What is it we're doing? We're playing a game of cricket. It's a great game, but it's a game of cricket, and so hence it's a great thing. The spirit of cricket. I think we all need to stick to it and really pay it attention. But we mustn't forget that we are playing to win. But and so it's that balance that we need to strike. So it's wonderful to have that. But yeah, at the same time, we do need to take in overall view of what the prize at stake and what people are really playing for. Because after all, particularly these days, the game it's very very professional. These guys, the modern day player puts a lot into getting to the levels that they get to. They have to, and so now and again we expect a lot of these guys, and so sometimes when they do probably transgress, we do need to probably give them sometimes a little bit of slack as well, because they are under quite some pressure. But that's where you put yourself in.
The game has changed a lot since it was. I think when most people started as a hobby, it's fun. And the professional game now is exactly that. Playing for much higher stakes. Yeah. There's reputations, there's careers on the line.
Yeah.
Which leads me to, how optimistic are you for the future of the game?
I am optimistic because there'll always be cricket. There'll always be cricket. What form it will take is the other thing, but it'll always be. And yeah, I mean, I'm one who was obviously played in the long formats of the game, and luckily when I started playing, the one day game was very much in vogue, and that obviously brought in the entertainment, the crowds, the music. That's brilliant, and it's all and we need to keep that going, and because we are in the entertainment industry as well. But at the same time, we also got to be mindful of where we came from. And so it's got to be, again, striking that balance between entertainment and enjoyment.
Yeah, is that a bit loud, that siren?
Yeah, I was waffling on there anyway.
Yeah. Do you want to get a quick glass of water?
Yeah, please, yeah.
Yeah. On these.
Once one start as well as
Which clubs did you play for in Melbourne?
I played sub-district for a club called Bowen.
Yeah.
Bowen, the subbies.
Still keep in touch with the guys?
Yeah.
Go back and catch up?
Yeah, whenever I'm back there, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there's something about cricket, isn't it, that you have that.
It's a brotherhood, isn't it? Yeah.
How often do you go back to Oz?
Well, I go back now. My wife's Australian.
Okay.
So we go back to family and stuff. But I go back on her. I've been back on all the tours, all the last Ashes tours since 97. Is it 97?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been the last 4 Ashes tours.
So it's now you that does the wine tours as well.
Yeah, now I definitely do the wine
tours. You kind of feel
tours.
like you qualified for it, as opposed to just shooting off in the middle of the air.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Quality. Well, we might come back to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, good to go.
Brilliant. Okay. Right. So, got back to, what does the spirit of the game mean to you?
Absolutely, it's cricket. The all that adage that's thing. It's only. Let me start that again.
I don't know, it could be me, because we're on to optimistic, aren't we? Sorry. It was the last one, wasn't it? We stopped at optimistic, didn't we? For the future of the game.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, that's one. Yeah.
Yes,
Sorry,
we've
my
done
it's my
spirit.
fault. I'm not actually ticking as we go along, because we're embellishing as we go along, as opposed to.
Yeah.
But that's good. Good. Okay. So, right, Pete.
Okay. Yeah.
Talked about the changing face of the game from where it's come from, and all the extra activities that players have to deal with these days. How optimistic are you for the future of the game?
I am optimistic. I am very optimistic because it's a great game and always will be a great game. Whether or not it's going to be the same game that we know now, that's what the MC, ICC, the MC, all the various boards, the players. We need to be mindful of the legacy we leave behind for the guys coming through. But it's a great game to obviously to play. I love watching it. I love watching all forms of the game. I must admit, and hold my hand up and say, I'd much rather watch the long form than the short form of the game. But perhaps I'm just an old guy but I do realise the importance of all facets of the game. Particularly now, you get the razzmatazz, the 2020, the music, because we're part of the entertainment industry, and as such we're up against it's a very flooded field in sports and people's leisure time. People work hard, so you got to cater for all that. So the game needs to position itself in such a way that it's at the forefront of the players, and I don't mean just the players who are playing it professionally for the counties or for your country, but also as you go down the ranks as well. You also got to want youngsters to aspire to playing cricket. So hence the more superstars we have, the more those guys are in the focus for the right reasons, for performing in the England winning Ashes or big one-day competitions. Then the more the game would grow, and I'm positive that we can do that.
When you said there that you're now creating stars of the game, whereas when thinking back to sort of the 20s and 30s and 40s, players just played cricket. They were very good players, well renowned, but they weren't seen as stars back then. There's so much more now to being in the game and playing cricket. Absolutely. And as I said, we are in a competitive environment for people's time and business, and there's lots of other areas that youngsters can now get involved with. It's not just cricket or football. Now you have all a myriad of other sports that you can play internationally that are all now professional as well. So hence the game needs to really make sure it stays up to the levels that will attract the best quality talented sports people, but also it's got to be entertaining as well. And so you got to get the balance between the entertainment and also the fulfillment of making sure the game continues the wonderful tradition and legacies that's been left behind by the guys who played in the 20s and 30s and through the ages. We've seen obviously Test cricket is one form of the game. More recently, when you played as well, one-day cricket came to the fore. Now with 2020 being the entertainment package globally, what aspects of that do you think have helped cricket in general? Are there aspects that you like about it, and there's some that maybe you think should be kept separate from the game?
I think the one obvious aspect is how, say, even in the Test match, how the batsmen, particularly the scoring rates, that's the obvious one, how scoring rates have increased. So hence now you have more result Test matches. I don't know if you might argue and say, well, that's probably because they might be scoring runs more, but they're not able to defend their wickets as good as they used to. So you lose more wickets, but the results, which is good. People want to see a winner. At the end of the day, it's the most difficult thing to explain in cricket. Right? People who don't know it, how can you play for 5 days and still no one wins? I mean, it's people can't. And sometimes some good games of cricket, if you really love the game and know the game intimately, a draw can be as absorbing as a win. It takes a bit of explaining that one. But yes, I mean we are very much in entertainment, and the 2020 definitely, and then the one day form that does, and it brings in other another aspects, another section of people, spectators, who probably necessarily wouldn't have come into the game. So that's a pull, but there's also a pull as well for the youngsters. I mean, one of the most impressive thing for me about 2020 is actual fact is for the youngsters, for the 10-year-old Johnny who plays for his local village team on a Sunday morning. The game of cricket he plays is a 10 overs, 15 overs, 20 overs a side match. I mean, I played that when I was 15. I played 15 8-ball overs. So it's not nothing new. Only thing new about it is that the pros are playing the game, and obviously the value of some of the pros has increased. But essentially it's bringing in the youngsters. Yes, give them the love of the game, making sure they can play the game properly, and then they can gravitate toward, make sure that they can gravitate then back towards the 2020. But yeah, use it as a hook to get them involved in the game, but then make sure they can access all parts of the game as well.
It's almost gone full circle, hasn't it? Now that aspire to be a cricketer because of the great role models and personal achievement, and now come back to seeing professionals playing the game that, as you say, youngsters are playing now. So actually they can see it's a bit more relevant that it's a short version of a game. If I can achieve in this, I could become a cricketer. Yeah. And obviously with it, it's now effectively a career, not just a hobby.
Yeah.
It is another way of putting it.
Absolutely, and as I said, those youngsters are saying, because you say as a 10-year-old Johnny, he's going to play a 5-day test match. He's 5 days, but he can picture probably a 2020 match, and then he can see the superstars of our game, the modern game, playing a 2020 game that he can more associate with rather than a 5-day test match. So if we can drag more of those guys, more of those youngsters into the game, and then turn them around and make them better into the long form, and then they'll always maintain.
You have to cut that one again. Just go back.
I'll start. I know where I was.
Yeah.
I'll always maintain that a very good Test cricketer would play any forms of the game. He would manage his game to suit any form of the game. A very good one-day player wouldn't necessarily gravitate up to be a Test player. So for me, if we can make them all good, very good long-form players, then they'll always find a place in the short-form game.
So there's a way of acknowledging an eye for a ball, which is maybe even the shortest version of the game, and then graduating up to, but not everyone makes it up to playing, actually looking after your wicket and appreciating that time is part of the equation. Yeah. I was going to ask you there, over time, bowling speeds, the top end, haven't really changed so much. People are still bowling maybe around the 90 mark. No. Has skill level changed more from a batsman's point of view, or are they any better from when you played?
I'm not sure about that. I see some bowling speeds. I don't know if it's a grumpy old cricketer talking now, but I see some bowling speeds at present, and you compare it to some of the guys that I would have faced in around the 80s and 90s, and I think, it's not right. I mean, surely the likes of your Holdings and your Marshalls and your Sylvester Clark and all these guys, your Garners, and hey, that's probably an old cricketer talking. But yeah, I think that the technical side is one that probably not. There's lots of coaching, lots of input. The guys these days, the technology is quite rightly used and utilised avidly to guys review. You can see all the replays and all that sort of stuff, things that wasn't around when I was around, and even before me. But yet there were some wonderfully technically proficient bowlers back then. I don't quite see the same techniques in cricket now, and for all the coaching that goes on, for all the medical, for all of there's a lot of medical input now in the game. lots of physical, lots of training. But still obviously injuries, because bowling is the sort of stuff I don't care. Show me someone who's ever bowled a cricket ball, and I'll show you someone who's got an injury. It's I can't see how the two work unfortunately work together. But yeah, and I think the reason I think there's so many injuries around presently is because techniques aren't quite as sound as they used to be. And they should be, because of all these technological aids and stuff that they use modernly.
If people were bowling more naturally back then, should we say pre-90s, and there were probably less injuries, to be fair, is there an overkill with this idea of coaching and medicals and young age and more injuries? It appears to be that they're asking the body to do something which it's not naturally looking to do. It's being pushed into a certain.
I mean, again, and again, I know the governing bodies have tried to manage or allow young bowlers to manage their development, and how if you play underage cricket bowlers are restricted. If a 16-year-old playing for his local club side can only bowl a spell of 5-6 overs, and then he can't bowl for another hour and a half. I mean, if you said that to someone like the Fred Trumans and the Eric Betts of that era, Fred Truman, these guys bowl regularly over 1,000 overs. The most I ever bowled in a season was approaching 700, and I couldn't bowl another ball. I mean, these guys were bowling over 1,000 overs every season. So you had guys who were naturally strong fellas, but also had wonderfully technically correct actions. Now, with the actions, we've been the coaching, the biomechanics, and all this sort of stuff have got involved, and we're not allowed to do the say you can't have your right foot landing square if your hips going straight, because it's a mixed action. So things have been adjusted, but we probably see more injuries now than we did way back then. Perhaps the guys back then were just ignorant and just bowl. They would have got injuries, but they just put on some Raljecks or deep heat and get the ice back on it, and off you go again.
Probably changed Malcolm's career quite a lot, wouldn't it? It's completely around the place.
Absolutely.
Right, just finish up then. Just maybe on that slightly lighter side, best moment in cricket, something that really stands out. Either your favourite, that your best moment that you really felt that's my best moment, and then maybe something funniest moment or something that's happened that there's probably quite too many actually with some of the people you played with, but
yes, yeah. Obviously the best moment is have to be for me was beating Australia in Melbourne, in Australia to win the Ashes. I mean that's ranks right up there, and the stupid thing was that and it's makes it how it is now and then. I mean, I took the catch of that match in '86 of Merv Hughes, and Phil Edmonds, who was really pedantic about his field setting. He'd moved me to about 2 yards from where I was, got me to mark a spot on the X on the ground with my spikes to say, and he said, "Don't move, you lot." And it bowled this ball. Merv Hughes swung. I was at deep sort of square leg, and I didn't move. The ball came straight to me, and I took the catch, and I threw the ball. I threw the ball miles in the air, into the MCG. Didn't know where it landed, And so, and 20, and now you see the guys take the mementos of all that sort of stuff. But back then it was just maybe you just want to go celebrate with your mates and the guys, and because it was such a big moment, yeah. So that was a phenomenon. And then in the presence of the likes of people like Botham and Gower and those guys who had played a lot more cricket than I had, and seeing what it meant to them to beat Australia in Australia. So that was quite a big moment. Another big moment was again winning an England Test match in Jamaica in 1990. It was the first time England had won a Test in Jamaica for 36 years. So that was against a team that had beaten us quite a lot in the 80s. So that was a good one to turn over on them. So those were two special moments. Winning the county championship at Warwickshire in '94. That was very special because I played in some wonderful players with Warwickshire in the 80s, Dennis Samis, Willis, Cally Sharan, great teams, great players, but we never came close to winning the championship. We won a few one-day trophies. So to win the championship in '94, that ranks well up there in one or two achievements.
Brilliant. Okay, that's absolutely fantastic. I think we're time to go.
We have.
Listen, fantastic.
If we could just do the one thing I was
Okay.
saying about, which is
Straight
just
to camera.
Yeah, literally straight to camera. This is for it's the Don Bradman Foundation dinner, fundraising dinner in October.
And it's in Sydney.
It's in Sydney Cricket Ground. Lily will be there. I think he's getting an honour.
Okay.
So you might want to cock a jibe at him.
So
But
it's
just
the
literally
Donald
to say-
Donald Bradman Foundation dinner.
Yeah,
It's Sydney.
It's Sydney Cricket Ground in October, and it's just one of those things when between the award ceremony and things like that, they'll just have some. And we've got some. We've got a greeting over here from somebody in London. So if you just say hi, it's it's me. Hi, blah blah blah. So just have a couple of goes. That'll be
Okay. Good evening to all the guests at the Don Bradman Foundation dinner there at the SCG in Sydney, Australia. Hopefully you're having a wonderful evening. I'm sure the Barbies have been fired up. The snags, don't burn the snags, and don't get the tinnies will be well cold. I know you guys, you'll be doing it in fine style there, because I know that Dennis Lilly, he only goes to do's. Sorry.
That was good. I see where that was going as well.
I'm sure you're doing it in fine style because I'm sure you're doing it in fine style because Dennis Lilly, it's the only dudes he goes to these days is the ones that really get him out of his rocking chair, as if he can really have a big night. And I'm sure you guys are having a wonderful night. Sorry I can't be there. But hopefully you'll be back down waffling. No. Okay. Sure you have a big night. I'll say something about the foundation. Yeah, a big night. Hopefully you have a wonderful, enjoyable evening. It's for a wonderful cause, the foundation, and I'm sure it's going to be represent what's really great, something that's really great about your wonderful country, Australia. Thank you very much.
Good, yeah, we can